Action figures are great!
Welcome to the newest edition of TNInews with your host, JC. Hey, what's up, everybody? JC here, and welcome to a Wednesday live news session. And we got a lot to go over. I figure we got some more San Diego Comic-Con talking to do and a few other things as well. But let's just take a quick roll call, see who is in the house. I see Zim is here. Good to see you, my friend. Sean Logan is in the house. What's up? Mr. Allmine is here. Good to see you. Damien is here as well. Greetings. Yes, yes, it did. San Diego Comic-Con very much wore me out. In fact, I'm still kind of recovering just because my sleep pattern got kind of thrown off going, the West Coast, East Coast to West Coast, and then back. And yeah, so definitely feeling it a bit there. But it was a good time. I definitely had a good time. Busy, but it was a fun time. Austin is in the house. What is up? Sith Happens. What's up? Leo, what's up, my friend? Chris is in the house. Good to see you. Collectible Fun. Good to see you as well. CJ, what's up? Rashid, what is up? So it looks like we got a pretty full house. But yeah, Comic-Con, it was busy as I remember it. In fact, more so at times. It was pretty much nonstop. I had some time on Saturday, but by the time I got to Saturday, I was like so tired. I was like, I just wanted to like chill. But yeah, it was a good time. A lot of stuff. Which I mean, it's not unusual for Comic-Con, but a lot of expensive stuff. Just stuff that like is going to kill the old wallet. But it was good. It was definitely good. Hall H, Marvel's return was pretty exciting. Robert Downey Jr. returning to the MCU as Doctor Doom. I don't think I had actually seen some rumors of that like a week or so, but I was like, yeah, come on, give me a break. But it turns out, I guess those rumors were right. And I got to be honest, I'm like, maybe, but we'll see. Like, I'm not like, oh yeah, this is going to be fantastic by any means. I mean, I'm glad to see Downey Jr. returning, but I would have rather him returned as Iron Man, not as Doctor Doom. So I don't know. Deadpool was great. Got to see that last week. Probably will go see it again this weekend with my wife. But that was a really fun movie. Though I can't say it really did much to set anything for the future. I think I talked about this when I did the live stream this weekend. But the movie in and of itself was great, but it just didn't really set much up for the future of the MCU, in my opinion. Let's see. Eric says, can he not be Robert Downey Jr.? I think he's Doctor Doom. Victor Von Doom. I'm curious. Like, I've seen him. I don't know. Like, is it an alternate universe Tony Stark who becomes Doctor Doom? Is he truly just playing a completely different character? I don't know. Mr. Allman says, same. Robert Downey Jr. is Iron Man, not Doom, but hope it's good. And it's like, obviously, I think Downey Jr. can, play the egotistical, pompous ass that Doom can be, but I just not quite in a way that's Doom. I mean, you're just gonna see Iron Man wearing a Doom costume. I feel like so. I don't know. I mean, I'm sure they've got a plan, but who knows? But let's enough about movies and let's get into toys. So let us jump over. So, what do you guys want to talk about first? So, I guess we can go over some news since yesterday or since Monday. So, for those of you into the new Batman Adventure stuff from McFarlane, the 6-inch stuff, this 3-pack is available now. It is a Best Buy exclusive. So, I believe these are reissues. I believe DC Collectibles issued these originally as individual figures. Actually, Batman and Robin may have been a 2-pack. I can't remember, but I'm pretty sure we've gotten these figures before. So in that Batman animated style. This set's going to cost you $70. Again, it's a Best Buy exclusive, and went up for, again, pre-order today. Actually, let's keep it with McFarlane. I want to talk about a little bit this crowdsource that started back in July 17th for the DC Superpower stuff, and it does not seem to be going well. Hit the wrong links. So this thing is in its final week, and it's sitting at $138,000, which sounds impressive, but it needs $600,000 in order to go into production. And honestly, I don't see it getting there. Even if it gets a boost, I don't see it getting that much of a boost in just a week. So I feel like this is going to be a failed campaign. If you're into the DC superhero stuff, that might be disappointing to you. But yeah, it definitely. I feel like this is going to end up failing. And when we first talked about this set when it was announced, I was kind of like, that's a really weird thing to crowdsource. Didn't make much sense to me. And I have a hard time gauging how popular these DC superpower figures from McFarlane really are. I know there is definitely like a group of people out there that really love these types of figures, but I just, in the overall scheme of things, I don't know how big that consumer base really is. But apparently it does not appear to be big enough to support a $600,000 crowdsourcing campaign. So I mean, we'll wait the full week until maybe a miracle will happen. But right now, to me, does not look like is going to make it. So 138.68 is where it is now. 1,149 backers. 7 days to go. So. I mean, it's not like a super expensive thing. I mean, $20 for the vehicle, $35 for the vehicle and the figures. If you get all four, $75. I mean, or the two vehicles and the four figures, it's $75. I mean, it's not like a super expensive campaign. So I don't know. Hi, the ruckus is in the house. What's up, dude? It's going back to the Avengers. Yeah, if anyone can make it work, the Russo brothers. Yeah, but the thing about that though is like it's not like the first two Avengers movies, or Avengers Endgame and Infinity War, where there was this long-term plan, and everything was really kind of in place and was working up to it. This, to me seems like, and I know we're getting back into toys, but this seems like a last minute thing. Like, obviously this whole Doom thing is replacing Kang. So, obviously that was the plan to do Kang. The Kang Dynasty movie has been scrapped. The actor has been scrapped. And so now we're getting Doctor Doom. So Russo brothers, did a great job with Avengers, Infinity War, and Endgame. But again, there was a much more stable story, plan in place for those movies than I see with this. This is like calling an audible in the last minute, and as good a directors as they are, I don't know. I mean, I'll keep my fingers crossed, but to me, right now, I'm not feeling super excited for it. But I haven't, like I said, Deadpool Wolverine was great. I was excited for it. It was a great movie. Going to see it a second time, but there wasn't anything in that was like, all right, the MCU is course corrected, and everything's going to be great from here on out. I just haven't gotten that vibe. Even and like the Captain America movie, I mean, there's nothing that I could say that looks horrible about it, but at the same time, I'm not really super excited for it either. Hey, Phoenix. Hey, buddy, glad you made it home safe. It was great to meet you. Nice talking to you, my friend. Yes, it was everyone who I got to meet, and quite a few of you came up, introduced yourselves. Always interesting to put a face to names. Not that I will. I got to be honest. I'm horrible with names, so um, often like a name will go in one ear and out the other. But it was really cool getting to meet everybody. Mr. Allmine, I do not have a big San Diego Comic Con haul, so this is the only figure that I walked away with. And honestly, the only reason why I ended up with this figure is because Shartimus was staying in the room with me, and he had picked up an extra one that I think he was going to sell to a friend or something, and he ran out of room in his suitcase because his suitcase was so packed full that he wasn't able to find a space. So I was like, you know what? Hey, I'll buy it from you because I had wanted to pick this one up. And this one, by the way, is not an actual con exclusive. This is going to be going up at other e-tailers next week on August the 5th. So, we talked about it before where Hasbro seemed to be indicating this was first to San Diego Comic Con and not an actual con exclusive. So, for those of you who do want this figure, you will get an opportunity to get it. Again, it's a fan channel exclusive. So, but this is the only figure I came home with from Comic Con. And again, only because Shartimus had an extra one and didn't have room in his suitcase. And I was like, I'll just buy it from you. So I still need to try and get the Cobra Commander Was a Man figure because that was the other one that I wanted to try and get at some point. But yeah, unfortunately, I generally do not have time to sit around in lines just because I'm running from one place to the other all day. So Comic Con lines for exclusives is generally not something I get to do. Let's see. Cartoons and cannabis. Superpowers aren't in any stories by me, and DC superpowers aren't in any stores by me and Walmart. I mean, I haven't been in my local Walmart in a while, but I've seen some of those figures at my local Walmart. I've never seen them anywhere else other than online. Um, but I think Walmart's the only physical retailer that carries them. I don't think Target carries them. Paul Zach says Walmart's near me don't even have pegs for superpowers in their store aisle. Eric, Mattel Masters of the Universe Origins had some awesome reveals, and the upcoming Thundercats crossover was my biggest pop at the con. Yeah, so Mattel announced, they didn't show anything, but they announced that they're going to be doing a crossover similar to like Turtles of Grayskull with Thundercats. So that's going to be coming next year. I mean, obviously the snake layer. Though I've seen mixed reactions on that snake layer. I've seen a lot of people like say they don't like it. I thought it was pretty cool. Not that it's something that I'm just not really doing much Origins these days myself, but I thought it looked pretty cool. Though I think when I talked about it over the weekend, um, I said how I thought it looked like the front of that layer to me looks like a Cobra headquarters, like something you would see Cobra Commander and Destro use. So I almost feel like this would be I mean, obviously it's not the right scale for 6-inch figures. That might work. I don't know, but I feel like there could be some customization in this thing for a Cobra headquarters with all these snake heads and everything. And this is the crowdsource for this is going to begin on August 12th for anybody who is interested in backing this. We don't yet know, of course, what the price is going to be. I'm going to imagine that it's going to be similar to the new Eternia playset, maybe a little bit less, because I feel like the new Eternia playset was a little more elaborate. But I don't know. I guess we'll have to see. Now, speaking of high prices, I wanted to talk to you guys about these real Ghostbuster figures coming from Mondo. So we finally got the price on these. Uh, Pixel Dan seemed to have gotten it out of him, which I gotta be honest with you, I'm a little irked because like I asked them like 5 different times what the price on these were, and they kept telling me that like it hadn't been finalized and they couldn't say, and I mean they kept indicating it was definitely going to be expensive, but I'm a little irked that they wouldn't give me the pricing information when obviously they did have it pretty finalized. But as it stands, the 2 packs are going to be $200, or a little bit over 202, and the single packs are going to be 101. So that's another thing that's kind of weird about these. So the initial impression I was given was that the single packs, which would have less accessories, would be cheaper than, and I guess I mean technically they're cheaper because you're only buying one figure, but they are the same per figure. They're the same price. If you bought 2 figures, it would be $202. So you're not getting it. You're basically, if you go the single route, you're going to get less accessories, and you're paying the same money as you are essentially for the 2 packs. I guess the idea being that maybe just people want to buy the real Ghostbusters and not the ghosts. But to me, the ghosts are probably the coolest thing in this line. So I feel like if you're going to collect these, you're going to want all 4 figures. But that price is definitely hefty, and I'm sure is going to keep at least a few people from collecting this line. I'm sure there will still be others who do, but and I mean it's a sweet looking line. I mean, as I've said before, I'm not really into real Ghostbusters. I mean, I watched the cartoon occasionally as a kid, but it's not like something, the toys is not something I ever collected. But when I saw these, I was like, yeah, these are really nicely, done figures. But $200 for a 2 pack is definitely, I'm sure, going to price some people out of collecting this line. And I have to wonder, if outside e-tailers are really going to be that interested in carrying these figures, because again, they're not really any cheaper. And so if you ended up buying these from like say Big Bad Toy Store, I just don't really know why you would buy them from a Big Bad Toy Store. You're paying the same money for less accessories. Mondo's going to have them up first. So, if I was a Big Bad Toy Store, I would be really concerned that I would be able to move these figures at those prices. So I'm curious to see whether they decide to carry these real Ghostbuster figures or not. Now, one thing for the other announcement Mondo made was that they're doing the 112 Masters of the Universe figures as well, and I'm not entirely sure why, but they did indicate, they didn't give a price on these, but they did indicate that the He-Man figures would be cheaper than the real Ghostbuster figures. I don't know if that's because the license for some reason is more expensive for the real Ghostbusters or what, but they did indicate that the He-Man figures might be a little bit cheaper. I doubt they're going to be cheap, but maybe a little bit cheaper than what those real Ghostbusters are. Hey, Gwen, seeing you in the chat. Good to see you, my friend. CJ says, "One day I will meet you, Jay, and say I'm the guy who won the." Oh, nice. I was reading it at first, and it was like, "One day I will meet you." But that would definitely be cool, man. Hopefully, you're still enjoying that Galactus. I still love mine. Does Shartimus snore loudly? He snores a little bit, but not loudly. I probably snore too. Um, Shartimus likes to come in late though. Artemis goes out and hangs out really late, and of course he lives on the West Coast, so he's not having to change time zones. Like for me, when it's like 10 o'clock at night in California, for me it's more like 1 in the morning. So I just was having a hard time keeping up after running around all day, and still having to get up fairly early on most days to do things that I would normally do. Steve Young, any idea on when we may see one cement? You mean like when it will be available online on Hasbro Pulse? No, they have not given a date yet. I I was thinking it was going to be this week, but being they have not made any kind of announcement, it's not looking like it's going to be this week. I'm now kind of wondering if they're going to wait and do it, make them available during PulseCon, which is September 13th. So we'll just have to wait and see. But right now they have not given a date for when they're going to make those con exclusives, the actual con exclusives, available on Hasbro Pulse. Again, the Death's Head figure is not a con exclusive, so it's fan channel, and it will be going up for pre-order at places like Big Bad Toy Store, Entertainment Earth on the 5th, which I think is Monday, right? So, but the others, we're still waiting on a date. CJ, Jada was my favorite. I love seeing the complete Street Fighter. I actually like the Scooby Doo figures. I did say I love Cyberpunk. Happy made Rebecca the Mega Man was great too. Yeah, Jada did had a nice showing, so we can pop over. Oh, and this was kind of a surprise yesterday. Another Ken variant being released as an Entertainment Earth exclusive. So in the white outfit. So if you missed that, it went up for pre-order yesterday. Again, this is being sold as an Entertainment Earth exclusive. So, and I believe it's still available. Yeah, $26.99, supposed to ship in November. So if you want another Ken variant, have at you. But yeah, so Akuma was the final reveal for Street Fighter, though they wouldn't show us the face. The Scooby Doo stuff, like Scooby Doo, like I probably won't get the Scooby Doo stuff. I mean, they're cool, but like a friend of mine who is really into Scooby Doo, he's like, it'll probably be like 10 years before we get the entire Scooby Doo team. That's the downside with Jada, is they're very slow with their releases. But that Akuma looks pretty nice. Again, we don't really get to see the face. That was as close as I could get to seeing the face with the camera. They had the cabinet open for us for a bit, so I was able to get some pictures without the glass, but I couldn't, that was about as close as I could get to the face of Akuma. Zangief was made his reveal or debut, I should say. I don't think we had seen Zangief before. I will say he seems a little bit on the small side. I feel like Zangief should be a little bit bigger, but maybe not. I guess he's bigger than well, Blanca's kind of crouched over. He's not as big as Saiget, and Saiget should probably be a little bit bigger. But I feel like Zangief should be at least as tall as T-Hawk. And it's hard to say 100%, but it looks like T-Hawk's a little bit taller. There's a good look at Shaggy, this Scooby Snacks. It's a nice looking figure. And the ghosts, Cyberpunk. E Honda. E Honda looks good. I'm definitely going to pick up E Honda. I'm not really into Mega Man, so. And I wanted to show. Looking for a picture. Here's in day 2. Yeah, I'm not that familiar with Cyberpunk, and so I don't know who this character is, but she's definitely pretty freaky looking. So again, I really know nothing about this video game property, but that's a pretty. When I saw this figure, I was like, damn, that's pretty freaky looking. Nerd alert: Snake Lair or Rattler? Tough call. I like, but for me, it's definitely the Rattler. In fact, speaking of the Rattler, we're under 2,000 until stretch goal 3. When I looked at it earlier, we were 12,100, and we need 14,000 for the Rattler pilot to be unlocked. So right now we're at 12,146. I think it's probably going to take the way that it slowed down. It went pretty good the first day. Of course, they announced it so late in the day. I really feel like that was kind of a mistake. They should have announced it earlier in the morning. I know the panel was later in the day, but they should have it seemed like they were going to do a fan stream at 11 in the morning that day, and they didn't. They should have done that, and they should have launched the crowdsource at that point, and then they could have put the Rattler out at the convention, after the panel like they did. But I feel like waiting it till like 8 o'clock at night, which is what time it was on the East Coast when the campaign went live, I felt like slowed it down a teeny bit. But I mean, it funded, I want to say, in under 24 hours. And then stretch goal 1, which obviously was the weakest goal, got unlocked pretty quick. But they gave us a big gap. Usually it's like 2,000 between stretch goals. So they kind of gave us a much bigger gap, having to get to 14,000 for stretch goal number 2. But I think, I'm not worried that it won't get to that. I just think it'll probably take about a week. So probably this time next week, we'll have unlocked stretch goal 2. And then, stretch goal 3, I think will get unlocked as well. But the Rattler to me was just one of the best highlights of the show. I thought they did a fantastic job with that. That's not to say I haven't seen some people saying that they thought it looked cheap, and I don't know what's cheap about it, but to me it's like perfection. For if you're a fan of the Cobra Rattler, that is. So it is big, though. I will tell you, and it's wide, so it's going to be hard to find shelf space. Like the dragonfly. Well, the dragonfly with the blades is probably a little bit high, but the blade, you can turn the blades on the dragonfly, so they're vertical with the vehicle. But with the rattler and the wings, you know, it's going to be hard to put it on a shelf. It's going to have to be either a top shelf or like I'm probably going to try and hang mine. I'll probably try and hang it somewhere over there behind me. But it's nice. It is so nice. I can't wait. Of course, I can't wait for the dragonfly. I mean, we still got till December before we're going to get the dragonfly. So that's the only bummer, is having to wait for these things. CJ, sorry, I'm losing track of what question. If, if you're asking about the real Ghostbusters, the 2 packs are $200, 202 to be exact. Though I think they said that that's what they're looking at. So I guess they didn't set it 100% in stone, but it looks like the 2 packs are going to be $202, and the single packs will be $101. So no difference really in price, other than if you only want, say, just the Ghostbusters, or I guess just the ghosts, then you can buy the single packs. But as far as price per figure, it's really not any different. But you're going to get a few less accessories if you buy the single packs. What's up, Glenn? Sorry I didn't see you at the con. I like the X-Men 97 Batman animated series from Mondo. Yeah, that stuff was pretty good. Spider-Man, the Cyclops looked good. Rogue looked good. We can pop over for you 12-inch fans. Venom, they had Venom. So this was Spider-Man, from the Spider-Man animated series, and Venom. So these are Mondo's 12-inch figures. And then their X-Men figures. Gambit. Omega Red. Sorry, my computer lagged there for a second. Omega Red. Rogue. Rogue looks really good. I like the head sculpt on Rogue. Cyclops, Jim Lee style. And then also classic style. So those were the Marvel. I'll hop back over to TNI for DC. Poison Ivy. Batman Beyond. That one looks pretty good. Scarecrow. And the Clayface. That Clayface is huge, so you're going to need a lot of shelf space for that one. Yeah, Mondo does some nice work with those 12-inch animated series figures. The Nerd Alert says he just reviewed the Once a Man figure on his channel. To be honest, it's not all that, in my opinion. I mean, it's kind of a gimmick figure to me. I'll be absolutely honest. I want the figure for not the figure itself, but I want it for the snake, so that you can wrap it around like Roadblock. That's really what I want that one for. And that's why, I'd said, like, if I didn't end up with that figure, it wouldn't be the end of the world. CJ says, yeah, Akuma from Jada will be 2026. Jada is a small company, though. I'm sure it keeps them from getting stuff out. They're not actually super small, but they are not. Their primary thing isn't action figures. They only recently started doing action figures. Diecast vehicles, they're really big into diecast type vehicles. So that's really where, you know, most of their efforts go into. But yeah, as far as action figures go, they're definitely kind of just starting to dip their feet in the water for those. Felix, what's up? Thanks for all the San Diego Comic Con coverage on the sites and the videos on YouTube. No problem, man. I wish I had been able to get more videos up. I tried to do that live stream from the Hasbro event, and that didn't come out too well because the internet sucked so bad. Um, and then, like, I got my interview up with Lenny from the Hasbro GI Joe team. I hope you guys checked that out. And I did the one live. I had time to do the one live stream that morning, but I'd wanted to do more. It's just there's only so much time in the day, and focuses more on doing stuff for the sites with pictures and stuff. So being able to do videos or even interviews and stuff gets kind of hard. So, like, I only wanted to do the interview with the GI Joe team. Um, I didn't even try and set up interviews with like Marvel or Star Wars. And I got to tell you, Star Wars was probably the weakest, had the weakest, in my view at least, reveals of any brand at Comic Con. I felt like Star Wars was definitely. I mean, not to say there wasn't some good stuff, but I just felt like Star Wars was not like super exciting this year. Skunk Life. Yes, Colossus is $40, and I went up for pre-order today. So the Deadpool movie Colossus, and yes, $40 is the price. I mean, to me, some people have asked, like, why is it $40? And I don't have necessarily a great answer for you. Um, it is a larger size figure, but it's a Hulk size type figure. But I mean, to be honest, when I saw the Phoenix figure was $50, that took me back more than like this being $40. But and this is a nice looking figure. They had this on display at Comic Con. It was a nice looking figure. So if you decide to get it, it will be a nice addition to your Deadpool collection. And I did go on and pre-order one because I pre-ordered the Wolverine and the Deadpool figures, so I wanted to have Colossus to go with them. But yeah, the $40 is definitely kind of a high price. Oh, and we got this reveal today. So for you guys who like the role play stuff, we're getting a Green Goblin helmet and Pumpkin Bomb. So these are being sold separately, and these are going up for pre-order tomorrow. So the pumpkin bomb is $40, and the Green Goblin helmet is 125. And that should be available at places like Big Bad Toy Store, Entertainment Earth. But yeah, this Phoenix figure, which SB Toys, these images, these in-hand images are from SB Toys. These on Instagram. You should check them out. And I guess CMD store has already started to get this figure in stock in Canada. So it's a nice looking figure, but to me, I don't see it being worth $50. I know it's got the base, and the base is cool, but like I have a easier time paying $40 for Colossus than I would paying $50 for this. Doctor Doom, just quick. So this was from Hall H. Actually, didn't get that picture. Shartimus snapped this pic for me from Hall H. But while we're on Marvel Legends, I wanted to talk about the Dragon Man figure. So, this was kind of a surprise announcement at Comic Con that we're not getting a Marvel Legend HasLab this year. Instead, we're going to get this made to pre order Dragon Man. And I got to tell you, this Dragon Man figure is nice. Detailing on it's really nice. This is an unpainted prototype, but you can just see all the detailing and everything. So I think they did a really good job with it. So I got a little bit of a lag going on my computer here. It's a little over 11 inches tall. Articulated mouth. We took a lot of pictures of this thing. These were the slides. So this is more of how it will look when it's fully painted. Has that book. Fast forwarding. So yeah, he's got the book. So yeah, 10.5 inches tall, 17.5 inches wide. So I want to just clarify a little bit. So as I said, this is replacing the HasLab this year. It is a made to pre-order that's going to have a pre-order window. So the thing to note about that is, and we don't know when this is going to go up for pre-order, but I'm going to guess it's going to start. The pre-order is going to open during PulseCon. That's a guess on my part, but it's going to have a window. So I don't know how long the window will be. Probably a few weeks, maybe a month tops. I'm thinking. So very similar in regards to the HasLab. The way you buy it. The big difference is we won't know what the minimum pre-order is. There is a minimum pre-order, meaning that there's a certain number that they're going to have to get in order to justify going forward with it. If they didn't get that order number, then they'd end up taking a loss, and so they wouldn't move forward with it. Which means if you pre-order it, your pre-order would get canceled. So that's pretty standard with a made to pre-order. Sometimes Super 7 kind of uses this model with a lot of their stuff on their own website. So it's kind of the same thing there. And, we've seen occasionally where Super 7 has canceled stuff because they didn't get enough orders. So it'd be the same thing with this. But with the HasLab, they always tell us the minimum number, and they won't be telling us with this. So that gives them some freedom, I guess. So, they can make a judgment call, I guess, on how many they actually need or whatever. So it's not like set in stone. I'm speculating on why they're not stating the pre-order, but there is a minimum number. It's not something that they're going to be publicly making available to us, the public, like they do with the HasLabs. Now, one key thing to note, similar to the HasLab, is if you do not pre-order it in that window, you won't get another opportunity at it. And Dan Young, when I was talking to him about this, and I specifically, spent time to talk about it so that I could talk to you guys intelligently about this, he wanted it to be made clear that if you don't get your pre-order in during that pre-order window, you're not going to get another opportunity at the figure. At least not, you go to the secondary market just like with the HasLab, but this figure will work almost exactly like the HasLab. When you pre-order it, you're not going to get charged until the pre-order window closes. Just like with the HasLab, you don't get, charged for the HasLab until the campaign ends and we know it gets funded. So if you pre-order it on the day one, you're not going to get charged for it until the pre-order window closes. And if you don't pre-order it in that window, at least what Hasbro is telling me, you're not going to get another shot at it at retail. You'll have to basically, go to the secondary market. And these, unlike Super 7, where on Super 7's website, when they do these made to pre-orders, you have the window, but they also allow other retailers to carry the figures, and they allow the retailers to continue to take pre-orders for them beyond that window, because these figures are going to be Pulse exclusives. You're not going to have an opportunity to go to like a Big Bad Toy Store or an Entertainment Earth to buy this figure. So that's basically it. So again, very similar, to the HasLab model, other than no stated pre-order or no stated minimum pre-order number, and there's no stretch goal. So it doesn't matter how many people pre-order the figure, there's not going to be any additional things added on to it. So those are the two key differences between this new model that they're experimenting with. Ryan Ting in the panel during Comic-Con was pretty clear that this is kind of something they're testing the waters on. But those are the two main differences between the HasLab. Now, one other difference is, obviously, with this Dragon Man figure, they're starting out with a mid-size figure. It's not like a super big figure. We've all come to expect with a HasLab, even though I don't think that's technically written in stone, but we all generally expect when a HasLab gets announced, it's going to be something that is big and something that is expensive. With this model, they have the freedom to do smaller figures that probably they still couldn't get out to retail very easily, but can now offer it to you this way. There's nothing that says that they couldn't do something larger down the road under the same model. I guess they could go back to the HasLab model if they want to do something bigger, but they're, like I said, those are things that aren't really set in stone either way. So, they're starting out with a mid-sized figure, but there's nothing that says someday they couldn't do Fing Fang Foom with the same model. But then again, there was nothing that says technically they could have done this as a HasLab, other than then they would have had to do stretch goals and such, which is probably why they decided not to do that with this. But again, note, this isn't like I've seen people say, oh, this is just replacing the Build-A-Figure, and that's not true. This is replacing the HasLab, or at least temporarily. It's not to say they couldn't go back to HasLabs at some point, but this is basically what they're looking at, is this to kind of replace the HasLab model. And I think the reason why they're doing that with Marvel Legends is because Marvel Legends, like you look at G.I. Joe Classified, and there's just such a large library of large vehicles that they can do that are going to be very popular and that people are probably going to back fairly easily, with a line like G.I. Joe. Marvel does not have that same luxury. The two big ones they got out of the way first with Galactus and the Sentinel. Then you start getting into more obscure characters that people are going to be less interested in, or vehicles that have never had a strong affiliation with Marvel. Vehicles have never been a strong part of any Marvel action figure line. So there's not really any nostalgia. You look at things like an X-Men Blackbird, and it would be cool, but it really wouldn't be great for displaying figures, things like that. So there's a lot of obstacles that make it much harder to have a successful big giant HasLab. So I think that's really why they're kind of going this route now, as opposed to the traditional HasLab. But again, just remember that there will be a stated pre-order window, and you have to pre-order the figure in that window if you want to get it at cost. Otherwise, you'll have to wait and go to the secondary market again, just like you do with the HasLab. Right now, I'm scrolling down because I haven't been reading your guys' comments as I've been rambling. Damien says, I'm not against a HasLab, but prefer the idea of bigger characters, maybe like Mangog, Curse, Frost, Giants, etc. Well, and I think this will give Hasbro more leeway to do these kind of mid-sized characters that don't really fit in their general retail scales. You know, there's, when you're looking at something that's released at retail, they have to fit in the SKU, like, so regular size figure or a deluxe figure, they can't just randomly do a figure that's bigger than, a certain size. It gets confusing, but a lot of that has to do with how just retail is set up. And then, of course, retailers generally want to shy away from larger items anyway because they take up so much shelf space and stuff. But this will allow them to do characters like Dragon Man or Awesome Android, or a lot of those mid-sized characters that they might not otherwise do. So now the downside with that you're going to have to keep in mind is price. Okay, and we don't know what the price on Dragon Man is going to be yet. They're holding that information. I don't know if they actually know it yet, but I have a feeling they probably do, but they don't like to reveal price until last minute. But because it's a limited release, it's going to have a smaller production run at the factory, and that in itself is going to raise the price. It's going to be detailed. It's going to, have some accessories. So, it's going to be more expensive than something that you would get at general retail. So, you're going to have to kind of brace yourself probably for some sticker shock. I'm thinking $100 on Dragon Man. That's purely a guess. It could be higher. I've seen some people thinking it's going to be 150, 175. I've seen others that think it'll be 75. I would be surprised if it's under $100. But just keep in mind, it's kind of like the Mondo stuff. Prepare yourself for a high price. It's not going to be as high as Mondo's, but prepare yourself for a higher price than what you would generally get at regular retail. Brick something. Really curious about Kang. If anyone knows, did I miss it? Kang, the action figure with the floating chair, or are you talking about Kang in the movies? Jeremy, do you think we will get Galactus and Marvel Legends for upcoming Fantastic Four first steps? Are you asking, do I think we'll get a new Galactus figure for the Fantastic Four movie? Maybe. I mean, I think it's definitely within the realm of possibility. I don't think it would be general release, though. I don't think they would do a Galactus as general release. Rick, something. So that's going to be a Pulse exclusive. We don't know when it's going to be made available. It was a little unclear. I asked Dan Young about it. He wasn't sure if it was going to be a Pulse exclusive or just a PulseCon exclusive or just a regular Pulse exclusive. Though he did say that even if Kang is a PulseCon exclusive, there will be another Marvel Legend item offered during PulseCon. Now, it's semantics, because whether it's a PulseCon exclusive or whether it's just a Pulse exclusive, it will just be available on Pulse. So it's really just a question of when. If it's a PulseCon exclusive, then it'll go up on September 13th. If it's not a PulseCon exclusive, then it'll go up probably sooner. And we don't have price on it yet. They didn't give the price for it yet. But the Kang with floating chair is definitely going to be sold exclusively on Hasbro Pulse. It's just whether it's going to be sold during PulseCon or whether it will be go up for pre-order, at a different time, is not entirely. I'm not entirely sure. I think it's probably going to go. Dan seemed to think it was not a PulseCon exclusive, even though a press release that was put out that week suggested it was a PulseCon exclusive, but I'm going to go probably not a PulseCon exclusive. Probably just going to be go up for on Pulse at some time between now and September. But we'll have to wait and see. But like I say, either way, it is something that is going to be offered exclusively on Hasbro Pulse. And again, don't have price, and I don't, obviously don't have a specific date. Josh, I think the larger Build-A-Figure over two different waves would work like they did by the... no, I don't... I mean, I'm not going to say they couldn't technically do that, but I've heard them, when they talked about that wave, talk about how challenging it was, and I don't even remember exactly why. So I think a figure like that... I mean, Fing Fang Foom, and like I had a discussion at that press event with Dwight and Jesse Falcon, and like my thoughts on Fing Fang Foom is, I would rather they go big, even if it's more expensive, go all out with it, make it significantly larger than the Build-A-Figure, and offer it as like a HasLab or this made to pre-order or whatever, as opposed to doing a Fing Fang Foom that is only just a little bit bigger than the Build-A-Figure, or maybe even close to the same size, to keep the price down. I feel like if you're going to do Fing Fang Foom, and I don't know if you guys agree with me, but I feel like they should, what I said to them was, if you're going to do that, go all out on it, make it a really nice size. So, I mean, obviously it's not going to be true to scale, but you can make it, the size of like Galactus or something along those lines. Yeah, it's going to be more expensive, but, I feel like a Fing Fang Foom deserves that kind of treatment, even if you're going to have to pay for it. But as far as like a Build-A-Figure for a Fing Fang Foom, again, I don't think they would go that route. I think they'd either do the made to pre-order and make it maybe just a little bit bigger than the Build-A-Figure, or go all out and maybe do it as a future HasLab. Cartoons and Cannabis. Too bad Punisher is a 2-pack. Don't want or need Bushwhack. Oh, he was a cool villain. I like... That's a 2-pack I don't mind, because it's not like it's a very much improved Punisher, and then you're getting a Punisher villain that we've never gotten before. So it's not like they're making you buy the same figure twice. Those are the 2-packs I hate. When you making you essentially buy a figure that you already have in order to get the one that you want. I mean, technically we've gotten Punisher figures before, but this is a different, this Punisher looks different from the previous versions. It is a 100% new figure. Probably the best looking Punisher that they've done to date. And then they've given you a Punisher villain who I think is actually pretty cool. So to me, when you do 2-packs, that's how you should do a 2-pack, not stick a figure that we essentially already got and make us buy it again in order to get the figure that we want. Cartoon says, well, I'm going to get that 2-pack myself. So yeah, I mean, you can. I'm sure you can sell it, but I'll have my own with the Punisher, because I want that Punisher too. I definitely want that Punisher. Jeremy, do I think we will see a figure of Robert? Oh yeah, hell yeah. I mean, not for a while, but yes, that will definitely get a figure. I don't need to see distributor list to know that will end up getting a figure. Ultimo, yeah, I could see them doing that. I could see them doing some vehicles, like with this made to pre-order model. Like I could see them doing a Punisher war van. Probably not something like a Blackbird. I mean, again, there's nothing that says they can't do larger stuff under this model, but if we wanted to just go with the current track record, that anything that's really big would be released under the HasLab model, and then mid-size stuff would be under this made to pre-order. I could see them doing like mid-size vehicles, like the Punisher war van or something under the same model. Happy says, agree, go Fing Fang Boom. Yeah, go big or go home is what I basically told him on Fing Fang Boom. Now, at the time when I was having that discussion, I did not know that we were not getting a HasLab this year. So I was at the time I was having the discussion with him about it. I was under the impression that we were going to be getting a HasLab this year. Did I ask Lenny about Serpentor reissue? I did not. I figure generally when you ask them things like that, they'll just give you a vague answer. Oh yeah, maybe that's something we consider. I did ask off camera about the hooded Cobra Commander though. I did specifically ask about that, and they really wouldn't give me an answer other than to kind of say that they can't talk about that. So it didn't leave me with a great impression that we're going to see a hooded Cobra Commander. I feel like Lenny and his team are continuing to try and push for it, but that the paper pushers upstairs are still not sold on the idea is kind of the feeling I got. So unfortunately, as far as hooded Cobra Commander goes, again, they really didn't give me an answer, but kind of not giving me an answer, because usually they'll say, oh, well, that's something, we might consider down the road. It was not anything like that. Like when I asked them about the refrigerator Perry and the Rocky Balboa and the Roddy Piper figures. Those are something they definitely would like to do, and maybe even are trying to pursue it. But the holdup with those kinds of figures is really just cutting through the red tape, having to go to those individual people or their estates. Roddy Piper, rest in peace, is no longer with us, so they would have to go to his estate to negotiate a deal and such. And that costs money. So like with a refrigerator Perry did not have the impact on GI Joe back in the day like Sergeant Slaughter did. So obviously it was worth for them to go to Sergeant Slaughter and renegotiate a deal with him to get a new figure made. Is it really going to be worth, and I have no idea what refrigerator Perry would ask for to be able to use his likeness for a new figure. But those are the things that generally would hang up those types of figures. But they definitely want to do those figures. It's just whether they can negotiate a good enough deal that makes it economically sound to move forward. It's same thing with Rocky Sylvester Stallone. Though honestly, I don't know with that one if it would be Stallone that they would have to negotiate with or the movie company, because it's not a Sylvester Stallone figure, it's a Rocky figure. So that one's probably would be even more of a mess to do. I'd love to see them finally release a Rocky figure, even though I know a lot of people say it would make more sense to be Rambo. But I remember buying that Marvel Universe, GI Joe Universe comic and opening it up and seeing Rocky in there, and I was like, oh, this is so cool. And then the figure never materialized. Jeremy, do I think the Marvel Studios ever go back to Kang in the MCU? Honestly, no. I think the fact that they have seemingly completely scrapped the whole Kang thing says to me, I mean, if they wanted to do Kang, they could have just recasted him, honestly. So I feel like the chances of us seeing them going back to Kang, I feel like maybe Kang essentially, in the Loki season 2 series was the last time we're going to see him. I mean, that's just my theory, but no, I wouldn't hold out hope that we're going to see Kang return to the MCU. Well, I know he doesn't own it. In fact, I've seen like where there's been some bad blood over the rights of that, because he did play a large role in creating that character, but I don't think he has actual ownership of that character. So, in fact, I think that's why he chose not to be in the last Creed movie, because there was kind of this whole hubbub about all of that. So, Happy Butt. Yes, they did announce Dr. Mindbender is getting the retro card treatment, so that one is definitely coming. But they did not announce Serpentor. Uh, uh, They did not make that announcement. So if they said that somewhere, I haven't seen it as far as Serpentor. I mean, I suspect that's what they will do at some point, but I'm not aware of that being announced. I haven't watched everyone's interviews and stuff, so maybe somebody did ask that question and they actually answered it, but they didn't make that announcement at the panel. All right, what do we got left to talk about today that we want to go over, or I wanted to try and go over with you guys? Um, got the crowdsourcing stuff out of the way. We got McFarlane stuff. Ghostbusters, we talked about that, the price. So I am curious, like on the real Ghostbuster stuff. For those, obviously, if you're not that big of a real Ghostbuster fan, I doubt you're going to spend 100 to $200 on those figures. But for those of you who have been like dying for real Ghostbuster figures, constantly been like asking Hasbro and such to do real Ghostbuster figures, are you going to buy? Are you going to pay that money for the Mondo figures, or is that just too much money and you're going to pass? I don't know if any of you guys here today are big real Ghostbuster fans, but I'd be curious, even if somebody comes in and watches this video later and like you're a big real Ghostbuster fan, let me know in the comments what you think. Again, obviously you're not going to like the price. Nobody wants to pay $200, but are those figures that you just have to have and you will pay that much money for? Glenn, we talked about that earlier. So I did not have a huge haul. I got one figure at Comic Con, the Death's Head figure, which actually isn't even a con exclusive. Now I have gotten a few other things, not at the con, but this just arrived today. The Amazon 3-pack with the Iron Patriot, the Doctor Doom, and the Crossbones. So that just arrived today. And then this arrived while I was in San Diego from Target, the new Tiger Force Wreckage and Tiger Paw. So Sabretooth is what I know this guy is, but I guess copyrights, they had to rename him. But the only thing I actually got from the con was the Death's Head figure. And honestly, the only other thing I was really that interested in trying to get was the Once a Man Cobra Commander figure, which I'll try and get when it becomes available online. T'Challa says, I like the real Ghostbusters, but Mondo is out of my preferred price range. Well, yes, preferred, but that doesn't mean you're not going to get it. Lord Wan Fu. So were G.I. Joe Cobra Commander Once a Man and the Transformer on sale at St. Yes, they were. I didn't have time to stand in the lines at Hasbro or any place. The only reason I got this figure is because Shartimus had got an extra one and he didn't have room in his suitcase, and so I was like, I'll just go and buy it from you if you want, and so he sold it to me at cost. But I didn't have time to stand in the lines or sign up for the portal or anything like that for the cons. But all those con exclusives were sold at the convention. I just didn't have time to get them myself. Brick something. Yeah, if you're a real Ghostbuster fan, this is a rare and likely never to happen again chance to get good looking modern figures. I would probably agree with that. I mean, Hasbro, for whatever reason, chose not to do real Ghostbuster figures. So, and I don't see them going back and doing them at this point. So, you might get some cheaper, more kid friendly stuff, maybe. But I would agree that if you want like 6-7 inch scale, nice real Ghostbuster figures, that this is probably going to be your best chance. Eric says, I enjoyed the cartoon, but it was more of a thing for my younger brother and cousins. I like the old toys. It was fun, but not sure I need premium editions. Rick, looking forward to Mondo's 112 Masters of the Universe 2000X. Luckily, I understand. Yes, that's what they told me. I don't know exactly why. I guess I think it has something to do with licensing, but yes, and I don't know how much cheaper. I doubt they're going to be cheap, but they should be cheaper than the real Ghostbuster figures, the 2000X He-Man figures. So yes. Damien, to be honest, the real Ghostbuster Mondo does seem steep, but if they are doing, say, 2 sets a year, which they are, we're getting the first two packs this year, and then the second two packs with the remaining Ghostbusters next year. And I got to be honest, I don't see the line going much past that. I think they will get all 4 Ghostbusters out, but I would be surprised if they go beyond that. But yes, they're not like throwing them all out at the same time. They will pace them out essentially 2 a year, I would guess. Hasbro probably pay. Yeah, I mean the Ghostbuster license is probably not super cheap, but I'm not sure because I'm not an expert on this subject. But I'm not sure when it comes to the real Ghostbusters if there is additional licensing involved beyond the movie Ghostbusters. So I don't know. But that when they say like when I've heard them talk about the licensing for real Ghostbusters and being the reason why they're even more expensive, that's the impression I got. But I'm not an expert on it, on real Ghostbusters and Ghostbusters, so I don't know if there is an added license holder in there for the cartoon version of Ghostbusters over just the movie. So I don't know. Eric says all 4 Ghostbusters and main monsters is perfect. Now I will tell you that they would like to do more. In fact, they were even talking about how they would like to do vehicles. I don't think vehicles are going to, based on these prices, are going to be too practical unless they're, I mean, Mondo has to know that the consumer base for these is going to be fairly small. I mean, I can't believe they're going into this thinking like there's going to be just this huge, giant consumer base. So they have to, going into this, know that their consumer base for these is going to be relatively small, which is probably another reason why they are more expensive because these are going to have pretty small distribution runs. But like I say, they would like to do vehicles and stuff. I just don't think there's going to be enough demand at those prices for them to be able to move forward with something like that. So I think, like I say, I think they will get the 4 Ghostbusters out with 4 ghosts, but that's probably going to be it, in my opinion. And that is just totally my opinion. Did not. I mean, I talked with others at the convention, but nobody who like had any inside information. But most people seem to think that it's probably going to be a 112 scale Ecto 1 as kind of a send off to Ghostbuster fans who collected the 6-inch Plasma Series stuff. We're done with Ghostbusters, but it's this final parting gift to you. We are giving you this Ecto 1 as a HasLab, is what most people seem to kind of think is what they're going to do. So, but there was no, as far as I know of, there was no mention from Hasbro about that HasLab. Even says, hoping to get Jenny Ghost and evil baseball team pitcher with Ray and Winston sets. Yeah, I have no idea what the ghosts. I know there were like mock-up images that surfaced online when, because the guy who actually is designing these, started out as this was just like a fun thing he was doing, and then I guess there was so much interest in it that they decided to move forward and actually, secure the license to do figures. But I don't remember what ghosts, and the ghosts that he had done were much smaller, um, if I recall. Happy Butter Blast. I definitely get the Ecto one and use it with the real Ghostbuster Mondo line. That would work. I mean, the Ecto one is a little bit different looking than the cartoon one, I think, but it would still work. All right. Well, we're over an hour. We've run late, and I think we have pretty much gone over everything I had. It says, I like how the Mondo Masters of the Universe figure shows vintage He-Man accessories and inspired heads. Yeah, I mean Mondo goes, at least with their 12-inch figures. They go all out with accessories and stuff. So I would expect to see something similar with the 6-inch figures. I mean, I didn't show you here, but they one of the figures they showed in their panel for Masters of the Universe for 12-inch was a Manny Faces. And oh my God, that thing's got so many different faces that's going to be included with it. It's crazy. It was just concept digital renders that they showed, but that 12-inch Manny face that they're doing is going to have a ton of faces. Eric says they're got to be banking on the YHS subscribers for sales. I'm those guys were like when I was taking pictures, those guys were like all over those figures. So yeah, I'm sure they're going to be leaning in on those guys and their viewers because I guess they're like a very Ghostbuster centric channel. Eric or Christopher Dragon Man will be open pre-order. Yeah. Yes, it'll be a pre-order window. Christopher, we don't know when the pre-order will be, but it's a made to pre-order. It's going to be a window. You will have to pre-order it in that window. Once the window closes, according to Hasbro, you will then not get another opportunity of the figure, and it will only be sold on Hasbro Pulse. Eric Elman, the designer is their buddy. All right, well, yeah, I think we're gonna leave it here. But as always, guys, I will be back on Friday with another live stream because I did the pre-recorded video on Monday. Which, man, that was a long video, and I know the audio got messed up a little bit on it. Um, I don't know why, but the video was so long, and I was so tired by the end. I was like, if my mouth doesn't move completely in sync with the voice, I'm like, screw it. So I apologize for that, but I did a lot of recapping of everything because again, there was just so much stuff at Comic Con this year. Um, I mean, there always is. It's not like this year was necessarily more than years past, but just so much stuff, and it's so hard. It's funny because like those of us who are there, like taking all the pictures or posting the news on the sites, you don't realize, but like we barely get a chance to even look at the stuff because like when you're taking pictures and you're running around from place to place to get all the pictures, you don't really have time to sit there and stop and just really take it in. Certainly things do stand out, but you guys, like, probably got better looks at that stuff than I did being there taking the pictures. And as you go back, as the, week plays out, you can sometimes go back and look at some of that stuff, but there's just so much volume of stuff, that it's overwhelming. And of course, a lot of stuff kind of just gets lost in the shuffle too. So, but yeah, a lot of stuff there. But yeah, I'll be back on Friday with a live stream, since Monday was the pre-recorded video. And then next week, we'll be back to the normal schedule of Monday and Wednesday with the live streams, and then Friday with the pre-recorded video. And I do expect August, tomorrow we start August, and I do expect things to slow down a little bit in August. Companies kind of take a breather after Comic-Con. So August, I suspect, will be a little bit slower with pre-orders and news and all that. And then we'll start to gear back up as we go into, September with PulseCon, and then in October, New York Comic-Con and such. So August, I think, will be kind of a month where we can just kind of take a deep breath and take it all in. Let maybe our wallets have a little break, and then things will pick back up. But again, I will be back on Friday with a live stream, and then next week we'll get back to regular schedule. All right, guys. So thank you for tuning in today. Hopefully you guys, saw cool stuff this week. And yeah, so until next time, guys, I will catch you later. Thanks for watching today's video. Now, if you're new to the channel, please think about hitting that subscribe button. Also hit the bell notification so you're alerted every time I upload a new video. For all the latest action figure news, be sure to head over to ToyNewsEye.com, MarvelousNews.com, JediInsider.com, and TFormers.com. And remember, action figures are great,